In the space between effort and achievement, between working to accomplish a goal and crossing the finish line, is the waiting, the tedious practice, the endless repetition, the training, and the rehearsals.
Welcome to Philosopher Insights, the podcast that delivers wisdom in minutes a day that you can put into practice daily and strive to master over a lifetime.
The podcast committed to sharing ideas that encourage you to bridge the gap between who you are today and the person you aspire to be in the future.
Hi, my name is Herb Lamba, and welcome to my podcast, where I will share practical insights from the world's best authors.
Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. The quest to become the best version of you starts right now.
Hi, and welcome to Philosopher Insights. My name is Herb Lamba. Today we're discussing grit to great, how perseverance, passion, and pluck take you from ordinary to extraordinary. The author of this book is Linda Kaplan Thaler and Robin Koval. I wanted to share a number of my favorite insights from this book, starting with why grit matters, tenacity, no safety net, weight training, bend like bamboo, and finish it off with no expiration date. So let's begin with the introduction. Quote, what do basketball legend Michael Jordan, Alibaba founder Jack Ma, and billionaire Michael Bloomberg have in common? Each of these extraordinary individuals was utterly ordinary growing up. No one would have ever predicted their future success. They weren't considered brilliant, talented, or destined for greatness. They failed early and often, but each one had the steadfast determination, stamina, and resilience that propelled them to excel in their field. In fact, new research shows that the secret to success isn't some rarefied it factor, it's the grit factor, and each and every one of us can possess it. It turns out that talent, upbringing, and college degrees are only half the story. Grit to Great shows you the real secret to success, and it is something every one of us can embrace and develop, whether you're 9 or 90. End quote. In the heart of this book, there is a big idea. Success isn't about just having some magical it factor. It's about something much simpler but way more important: grit. Look closely at the stories of successful people, and you'll see that what really got them there wasn't just talent. It was years of sticking with it, fueled by passion and determination. In Grit by Angela Duckworth, she shares this about the power of passion and persistence. She says, quote, why were the highly accomplished so dogged in their pursuits? For most, there was no realistic expectation of ever catching up to their ambition. In their own eyes, they were never good enough. They were the opposite of complacent. And yet, in a very real sense, they were satisfied with being unsatisfied. Each was chasing something of unparalleled interest and importance, and it was the chase, as much as the capture, that was gratifying. Even if some of the things they had to do were boring or frustrating or even painful, they wouldn't dream of giving up. Their passion was enduring. End quote. That is like a pinch of magic in a world of doubt. Most folks don't handle life of dreams like this. When things get rough or don't go as expected, most people tend to give up and convince themselves it wasn't meant to be. They convince themselves that they're missing that special grit factor. Insight number 1. Why grit matters. Quote, passion and perseverance, it turns out, matter more than talent or intelligence when it comes to being successful. The end game, it turns out, belongs to the truly diligent, not the merely talented. It belongs to those who have grit. Grit is about sweat, not swagger. Character, not charisma. Grit has been equated more with methodical stick-to-itiveness and survival than any secret ingredient to success. Grit is the result of a hard-fought struggle, a willingness to take risks, a strong sense of determination, working relentlessly toward a goal, taking challenges in stride, and having passion and perseverance to accomplish difficult things. End quote. I love grit for another very important reason. You don't have to be born with it. It's not something you either have or don't have. You can learn to develop grit. Aristotle has a famous saying, quote, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. End quote. Our challenge is to quit glorifying mediocrity and somehow justifying mediocrity for the best we can do. The mediocrity movement starts for most of us as kids, where parents and coaches reward everyone for participation. It's likely that the desire to maintain self-esteem in our kids undermines the ability for them to showcase grit at an earlier age. Insight number 2. Key ingredient, tenacity. Quote, Tenacity is the relentless ability to stay focused on a goal. This is perhaps the most recognizable trait associated with grit. We see it in every athlete who overcomes a setback or a loss to win an Olympic gold medal or a championship ring. In every Nobel winner who has ever sweated through thousands of failed experiments and dead ends before making some groundbreaking discovery that has changed the field. In every entrepreneur who spends years fighting to launch a new service or product that ends up changing the way we live. End quote. The other ingredients required to build grit are guts, resilience, and initiative. The concept of tenacity brings to mind K. Anders Ericsson's renowned research, notably the 10,000-hour rule. In essence, it suggests that mastery requires 10,000 hours of deliberate practice. As Ericsson says, quote, "Expert practice is different. It entails considerable, specific, and sustained efforts to do something you can't do well, or even at all. Research across domains shows that it is only by working at what you can't do that you turn into the expert you want to become." End quote. Now, this stands in stark contrast to the approach most people take towards their life goals. To achieve greatness, one must commit to consistent, intentional practice. To reach the 10,000-hour milestone, that requires 8 hours of deliberate practice per day, 5 days a week, for 5 years. Insight number 3, lose the safety net. Quote, "It comes down to becoming, in essence, your own first responder, identifying worst-case scenarios ahead of time, then training yourself what to do if and when they occur. Should that moment arrive, you will have the training and the confidence to calmly respond rather than hastily act. This is where guts, resilience, initiative, and tenacity truly pay off. All it takes is mindfulness, the ability to zoom in on the problem at hand." End quote. Now, this reminds me of one of my favorite concepts of all, WHOOP, a strategy that Gabrielle Oettingen shared in her amazing book, Rethinking Positive Thinking. She said, quote, "On a blank sheet of paper, name the wish in 3 to 6 words. Identify the best outcome, also in 3 to 6 words, and write it down. Now let your thoughts lead your pen, taking as much paper as you need. Then name your obstacle and write it down. Imagine the obstacle, again letting your thoughts wander and lead your writing. To create a plan, first write down one specific action you can take to overcome the obstacle. Write down the time and place where you believe the obstacle will arise. Then write down the if-then plan. For example, if obstacle X occurs, when and where, then I will perform behavior Y. Repeat it once to yourself out loud. In episode 136 of my podcast, I provided additional insights into this tactic, anticipating challenges and devise actionable plans to overcome them. Insight number 4, weight training. Quote, "Achievement of any kind, we're taught, requires patience, a willingness to delay gratification. In the space between effort and achievement, between working to accomplish a goal and crossing the finish line, is the waiting, the tedious practice, the endless repetition, the training, and the rehearsals." End quote. So, it's time to engage in weight training, WAIT, to deal with that inevitable gap that will often seem like a giant chasm between where you are and where you want to go. People often struggle with waiting not because they can't achieve what they want, but because it necessitates sustaining hard work. Now, I love this parallel wisdom from The Slight Edge, where author Jeff Olson says, quote, "Can you imagine a nation being born in 2 hours? Meeting the person who will become the love of your life, the dating, courtship, romance, struggle, triumph, wedding, and happy life thereafter in 2 hours? Of course not. We expect to put out the effort of a 30-second falling in love sequence or fighter in training sequence and get that same heroic ending. In a world filled with instant coffee, instant breakfast, instant credit, instant shopping, instant information, and 24/7 news, we have come dangerously close to losing touch with reality and believing we have access to an instant life. But life is not a clickable link." End quote. I genuinely love that quote, and I believe this is how most people think, which is why our society often struggles with sticking to one thing long enough to achieve success. Think about those you admire, those who've become legends. What if they had sought instant gratification and failed the weight training? Quote, "The genius of artist Vincent van Gogh has amazed generations of art lovers, But Van Gogh was little known during his life and toiled in poverty. He sold only a single painting before his death at age 37. Yet his passion and grit helped him to create more than 2,000 works of art in his short career." End quote. If that isn't the epitome of grit, I'm not sure what is. Van Gogh only sold one painting in his lifetime, yet he created over 2,000. Such remarkable persistence, belief, passion, and grit. Insight number 5, bend like bamboo. Quote, "Despite its hard body, bamboo is incredibly flexible, thanks to its hollow interior. It will sway even in the gentlest breeze. Yet it will often be the only thing standing after a typhoon, its roots firmly anchored. Bamboo plants can endure challenging temperature extremes of winter and summer, and yet they are one of the fastest growing plants in the world. There are many life lessons to glean from bamboo, such as learning to face obstacles not with stubborn resistance, but with flexibility and confidence of knowing that you can adapt to change." End quote. That is absolutely spot on. Acknowledge that the path to your major goal will be littered with obstacles, and maintain flexibility and adaptability throughout the journey. That is crucial. Remember OMMS, obstacles make me stronger, and shift your perspective on how you perceive the challenges you're going to face. You're more likely to embrace change when what seems like a roadblock today turns out to be a necessary obstacle to propel you to the next level of your journey. It wasn't a sign to quit. It was simply a test to determine if you have what it takes to persevere. Quote, "Resilience in the face of adversity is the essence of bamboo. Although it may grow slowly at times and slowest of all in the dead of winter, it's constantly finding a way to reach for the sky, sometimes saving its greatest growth efforts for times when the conditions and circumstances are right. That can happen at any stage of life." End quote. This brings to mind one of my favorite analogies for grasping success, the Chinese bamboo tree. If you were to plant a Chinese bamboo tree today, you'd need to water it daily for 5 years before it breaks through the ground. Once it does, it can soar up to 90 feet in the following 5 weeks. Remain flexible and adaptable, and remember that the time between plant and harvest may be long, but if you survive the cultivation period, the payoff will be worth it. Insight number 6, no expiration date. Quote, "Emerging science tells us that most of the cognitive limits we think we face as we age are self-imposed. The brain is like a muscle that, with exercise, gets stronger, as its plasticity and growth are fueled by learning new tasks, creating new memories, and taking on new challenges. This is true whether you are 8 months old or 80 years young. It's only when we don't use our intellect that we begin to waste away." End quote. Whenever I read a passage like this, I'm filled with even more motivation to pursue lifelong learning. Just as your biceps fail to grow when you stop exercising them, your brain stops forming new connections when you stop challenging it every day. In Limitless, Jim Quick says, quote, "Our brain is malleable. We have the incredible ability to change its structure and organization over time by forming new neural pathways as we experience, learn something new, and adapt. Neuroplasticity helps explain how anything is possible. Plasticity means that you're learning, and indeed your life is not fixed. You can be, do, have, and share anything when you optimize and rewire your brain." End quote. The most powerful supercomputer in the world, your brain, can do remarkable things as long as you keep making new connections by challenging it throughout your life. Don't let your age deter you from trying to learn new things. Quote, "As a society, we are fixated on use-by dates and time limits on pursuing our goals. Regardless of how old we are, we look sideways at people who keep trying to achieve a goal well past the time when most people think enough is enough. Yet many of these supposed Johnny, Jenny, come-latelys apparently never got the too late to be memo." End quote. How true is that? I've used the "I'm too old to change" excuse countless times in my life. But I encourage you to challenge this line of thinking. Instead of dismissing those who pursue their dreams later in life as crazy, why not seek your own opportunities to start a new path? Don't settle for mere existence. Keep living and uncover what's truly possible for you. Quote, "Grit is the great equalizer in life because anyone, at any time, whatever their background or resources, can lay claim to it. It's been proved time and time again. that those individuals who relentlessly and passionately summon their inner fortitude when things get tough or scary, who tirelessly turn defeat into victory thanks to their resilience, who turn roadblocks into initiatives, and hold on with the fierce tenacity of a mother tiger to her cubs, are the true winners in life. With grit, there's no telling how far you can go, how much you can do, or how successful you can be. So what are you waiting for? End quote. As the final words of the book, let's shift the focus back to you. How can you begin infusing more grit into your life? I love what author Carolyn Adams Miller says in Getting Grit. She says, quote, "To qualify for the label of authentic grit, it's not enough to be resilient, persistent, and passionate. I believe gritty behavior is a positive force only when it awes and inspires others to want to become better people and imagine greater possibilities for themselves. People who display it make us wonder, what if I went after hard things too? What if I devoted my energy and time to cultivating my passion? What if?" End quote. Please share your story. Be open about your own struggles and challenges and how you've overcome them with grit and perseverance. Your personal experiences can inspire others to believe in their own ability to overcome obstacles. I hope you enjoyed this quick look at my favorite insights from this wisdom-packed book. What ideas could you start implementing in your life today? Until next time, stay curious and keep embracing the wonders of knowledge. Talk to you soon. You've been listening to Philosopher Insights with your host, Herb Lambert. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.